Hello peeps, Dee here. Welcome to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to this little tutorial. Now, what I have here in my hands is, this was part of another class in the members classroom. We did something very much the same, a little more complicated. The primary piece in that class was actually raised. It was a pod shape. Anyway, I decided to do kind of a simplified version in the open channel, so you guys can make some. They're quite simple, actually. So that was the original one. This is what we're making in class. Okay, so just a simple pair of earrings. I did make them, I made 3 pair actually. I made these 2 thinking I was shooting the steps. I didn't. I hit the button on my camera, on my phone, and I actually turned it off instead of on. So after shooting a day, or not shooting a day, I decided I had to come back the next day and finish up the class. So that's what we're doing in this class. We got some earrings to make. Let's get started. So let's begin. Now I've taken 1 ounce of violet, conditioned it, 1 ounce of white, conditioned it as well. Now if you're brand new and you don't know what conditioning is, then please watch the conditioning videos, because it's a very important preparation for your clay before you start making anything, all right? If you don't adequately condition, then whatever you make is going to be very weak. And then your work is wasted because your pieces will break. All right, so ideally you want clay that has the same feel, the same sort of softness and suppleness. Now in this case, it doesn't. My violet is a little more stiff. Now this could be because of the pigment. It could be, I don't know, whatever reason, but while the factories try to make the clay the same consistency and feel, it's not always possible. Some pigments are wet, some pigments are dry. You just don't know. All right, so prepare your clay, because the next thing we're going to do is a Skinner blend. Okay, now we're going to make a Skinner blend from these 2 colors. Skinner blend is a technique that was shared with the community by Judith Skinner. She's I believe she's a scientist or mathematician. It's a wonderful technique, and it's so mathematically sound. I don't know how else to say it. Anyway, you know what? I did want to comment about the difference in the consistency here. It's not too radical, but sometimes it is. If that's the case, then you can use something like this to soften your clay. Conditioning bar is really great stuff, and it'll soften your clay up. Just don't use too much at any one time. Add it gradually. Okay, your basic 2-part Skinner blend begins for me with 2 right-angle triangles, like so. Let us now make 2 cuts that form a 90-degree angle. So here's 1 cut. Here is the 2nd cut. The goal here is 90-degree angles, a 90-degree angle there. Ew. Separate them. Put them back together, offset so that you've got exposed white here, exposed violet here, or whatever colors you're using. I slightly overlap them so that they stick together when I roll through the pasta machine. All right, I'm going to cut the tabs off. The first time you roll through the pasta machine, you must roll a side that has 2 colors, this or this, not this and this or this. Now, this clay is two thicknesses through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. My pasta machine is still set to the thickest setting, and that is the setting I'm going to use. This on the rollers. Ta-ta. All right, the process continues by folding, and you're going to fold the same color on the same color. Place the fold on the rollers and roll through. All right, now you will continue doing the same thing, like so. Fold on the rollers and roll through. So I'm going to do this, and I don't know exactly how many times. Now, what happens here, be careful, because most of the time when I make a Skinner blend, if I have any issues, it is that sometimes I lose the white. I generally don't lose the darker color, but the white, yeah. So I'm going to make sure that I always align the white side first and make sure that it is perfect. Okay, so I will continue and I'll be back. So I've rolled through about 10 times, and this is what we have so far. Obviously, it is not finished, so I will continue folding and rolling. Okay, so this is what I have so far, probably 20 times through. Now, because I have such a small quantity of clay, 1 ounce of violet, 1 ounce of white, it's getting harder to fold, right? There's just less of it to fold, because every time you force a double thickness of clay through a setting, this, when I fold it, it's 2 times the thickest setting, and I am rolling it through the thickest setting, so it's squeezing it, right? Well, it's going to spread out sideways. That's what it just happens in these machines. Not a big problem if you find that you don't have enough to fold. Just reset the machine to a thinner setting, like 2. Place this edge on the rollers, roll through, and you have more to fold. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to do this a few more times, and then I'll be done. I'll be back. Yeah, just a couple more times. Like so. Okay, so our earrings, this isn't perfect, but it doesn't have to be at this moment. Our earrings are not going to be this long. I would like to have a full blend in the earrings. I'm going to make them round. Actually, they're semicircles, half circles. Okay, so I've got to shorten it. This is where the plug comes in. I'm just going to roll it up sideways like this. And I'm going to make this shorter by rolling and pulling my hands in like so. Now, this technique is in a lot of other classes. I decided to make this class pretty complete, and because the intended audience for some of these are people, I mean, you might not know a lot about polymer clay. You might not know anything about it. So I realized that a lot of my classes, I just made a lot of assumptions about what someone viewing might actually know. So I'm trying to make the classes complete so you do not have to go searching for things. Also, if you already know these things, then you certainly don't have to watch, right? You can just skip it. Okay, now let's figure out how big I want my earrings to be. I've attended. Okay, peeps, I am recording. This is day 2 of this little earring class. I thought I had finished it yesterday, but I had actually turned my camera in my phone off when I thought I turned it on. So I had like 3 hours of nothing. Okay, 45 minutes of nothing, followed by what should have been 5 minutes of class. So anyway, I'm back, finishing up. These are the earrings I made yesterday. I made 1 pair, I made 2 pairs. So today I'm just gonna show you how to make these. I think they're kind of cute. Yeah, they're kind of cute. You know, when they're separated like this, these look less like eyeballs. All right. So I have my violet to white. I have rolled this through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. I am going to thin it out by rolling through setting number 2, then setting number 3. Let's texture. I'm going to take my dual plex refrigerator liner sponge. That looks a little dark, right? Doesn't it look like I ran something dark through there? Let me get a fresh piece. Fresh and long. Okay. Now I will roll this, just like this, through the same setting, which is setting number 3. I'm going to leave this long because sometimes I have really long pieces. Uh-oh, I got dumped in my tea. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, good. Okay, here we go. I don't sand these. So what I'm going to do next, select the size, and I think this was the size yesterday. I'm going to make it bigger today. Yeah, why not? Okay, so the first thing, you know what? I'm going to put this on a tile. Much easier because I don't want to really move it. I don't want to move any of it. So let's just tick it. Let's just tick it to the tile. Okay, and cut like so. All right, now let's find the center. Using this handy little centering template that I have, I'm going to place it on the circle. I'm gonna try to find out where. Is that it? Is that you? You know, that looks pretty darn good. Press it. I've transferred the mark. It's a little fainter than usual. Well, it's faint because the whole piece is textured. So in that respect, it's not faint. It's just not as visible. Now I'm going to try to cut straight down the center of the mark like so. All right, so here are my earrings. That's what I'm trying to say. Here are my earrings. All right, so one of the things I like about this particular technique is that all you need is a Skinner blend. One dippy little Skinner blend. Now, this is all textured. I don't want it to be textured. So I'm just going to take this, fold it through. I'm going to roll this through the pasta machine on setting number 1. Flattened out the texture a bit. Setting number 2, and I'm always putting this edge on the rollers. I don't really want to make it longer that way. Setting number 3. I guess I could have just gone to 3 to begin with, but whatever. Setting number 4. I'm going to stop at setting number 4. Now, the easiest way for me to make these skinny snakes on the surface here is actually to start. I'm going to sneeze. Okay, peeps, so I think maybe some of you might be wondering, wait. she had that round thing, and then she had a flat thing. And how'd she get from round to flat? Okay, I understand. Well, a plug is a really great way to store clay, store Skinner blends. And that's what I have done in effect, is taken a Skinner blend sheet and stored it as a much smaller unit that can then be put in a fishing tackle box or wrapped up, or, you know, it's just a much more efficient shape than a sheet. It's also really easy to restore the shape of a sheet from a plug. And so the way I did it was simply by cutting a piece off. This is what I did. This time I probably would have just taken the whole thing like this. All right, so look at the surface of that. See those little stripes and things? Oh, that's not ideal, is it? So if you cut a slice off, chances are you're going to want to roll it through the pasta machine. Okay, I've set my machine to 3 because I think it's thinner than this. I also did a really, really crappy job of cutting a slice. Anyway, I'm going to place this edge on the rollers. I'm going to roll through. Like so. Yes, that means I did a really bad job. All right, still got those stripes in there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it, place the fold on the rollers of the pasta machine, roll through. And by doing that, I can eliminate that look, those little stripy things. Okay, may take a few turns. It's not always the same. Sometimes you get lucky and it just takes a few. Other times you got to roll it through about 10 times or more. But you see, it's already better. You went from this to this. Okay, so that is how I went from a round cylinder plug to this little sheet. Okay, let's continue. Okay, I'm back. I almost sneezed. Anyway, the easiest way to make these very thin little snakes, pointed snakes, is actually to take a sheet and cut thin strips. Like so. So let's just cut 4. 4 of these puppies. Like so. Set that aside. Now each one of these will just be rolled so that they're square now, but they won't be. I'm going to round them out just by rolling. I think this is simpler. Okay, so I'm going to need 2. We're going to work the right and the left earring so that we have a nice mirror image. In other words, the earrings are mirror images of each other. Okay, set these aside. Got these 2 to work with. Like so. This one's a little longer. I can stretch that one out. Okay, so let us begin by, you know what, I'm going to try to make my life a little easier. Let's say that I start it there, and now I'm going to try to find the corresponding spot on this side. That looks pretty good. And you know what? That will make my life a bit easier. So let's turn it this way and start the coil by just dragging the tip over to the hole that I made. There's the hole, there's the tip. Now there's enough space for me to have gone twice, probably. Well, let's just make this a little bit simpler. Now, I think I would like the coil to be a little tighter, so I think I will start this like so. Like that. Just a wee bit tighter. Okay, so let's start this one. Like that. And try to replicate the same curve in the second earring. It's not going to be perfect because it's very hard to make something perfect like this. We just want them to be close, so that the difference between them doesn't like call attention to itself. Now it's going to be quite easy to roll this snake. See? I can just roll it and push it out and push it in, and then that's because of the texture on the surface. Okay, so there's the first one. Now, if I don't like that, perhaps that's a little bit too low. I find it a bit too low, so I'm just going to move it. Yeah, I'm going to move it. I should have started it up here. You see? Now, if I totally mess it up, I'll just roll new ones. And maybe at this point I can still use these, but I think I'm going to start it closer up here and leave less space in this violet area. Okay, let's give this a try again. Maybe I'll try them both at the same time. This one's more pointy. I think I'm going to make it a lot tighter, like that. Maybe have it curve back this way. Maybe that's better. Just seemed like it was awfully wide. Oops. I messed it up. Okay, how does that look? You know, I think it looks better. And now I will put another coil down here. Let me just pull that out a bit, like so. Okay, now Let's prepare these two little snakes. This is simple, but it can be just a little bit fussy. Just a bit. But if it's too simple, well, okay, for me, if something's too simple, it's not really fun. It gets boring. I mean, something about a process or a project has to be challenging. This is not terribly challenging, but it's a type of thing that you have to be engaged with. Okay, so how's this coil going to be? Shall it go the opposite direction? Yeah, I think so. So let me just start it here. And it will, the corresponding spot should be about here maybe. Maybe this is a little farther in. Okay. This time I think I'm going to start it this way. That's my cat. Did you hear those bells? One of my kitties was locked in my studio last night. Kind of scary when that happens. He's a good boy, but ay, ay, ay. He can make mischief. Don't like that. Okay, so I think you get the picture. You just keep fussing with it until you end up with something that you really like. Some of you may actually plan ahead. You may actually make drawings. What do you think? You could sketch out what you want. I have done that on occasion. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working on this. And I'll be back because we're going to put a couple little crystals in and then we'll cure it. Okay, so now I'm ready to put some crystals in. All I did was add one piece that went like that. I like this set. It has 6 different sizes. The important thing to remember is that you must use glass. You cannot use plastic. Okay, so make sure that whatever crystals or crystal type stone, flat back stone, is glass. Okay, so I use my trusty ball stylus. Okay, so here's where one will go. Here's where a second will go. Let's spread the tiny one out just a bit more. So I'm going to go from large, medium, and then small, like so. Now, they aren't exactly spaced the same, but they're close. Now I'm going to take a picking pencil, pick up a crystal. This pencil saved my life. Now, there are many, I think there are other things that you can use that aren't like, this is like a pencil. I mean, I could draw with it. Let's put the second one in, and I am just simply pushing it deep enough so that the clay is capturing the crystal. That's all I want to do. No, wait, this looks the same size as that. Let me see something. This one is a bit larger. They do get mixed up. Okay, I mix them up. Sometimes I spill them out and I try to sort them back in and I don't do it properly. And well, I think you get the picture. Thing is, you don't ever want to leave this open like this. Bad me. It should always be closed, because if this drops, I'm going to have thousands of glass crystals all over the floor. Okay. All right, so there's just one set. Maybe I'll just put one single one here and here. I'm not going to overdo it. I could overdo it, but I'm not. I'm just not gonna. I tend to think less is more with crystals. Just kind of use a few here and there just to add a little bit of sparkle. Let's add a teeny tiny one here. Like so. And I think I'm going to call that good. I really don't want to do more than that. Could put one last one right there at the very tip. Do I want that? Why not? One more. There's a tiny one here. Tiny. All right, I have to trim the excess away, so I will do that just by taking my blade and trying to cut right there against the edge of the disc. Remove the excess like so. Now, before I put this in the oven, I have one final thing to do, and that is to press all these snakes down. Remember when I said how easy it was to move them off of the surface? Well, that's because the surface of the disc is textured and the snakes are smooth, so you can easily, I was rolling them, moving the positions. Well, what does that mean? It means that they're not particularly well stuck. The snakes were not particularly stuck to the back. So you have to do this, otherwise you may peel them off after they're cured. Okay, so just make sure you do that. It's important. All right, in the oven we go. I'll be back. So this is cured. Now, while it's still warm, you might just want to take your blade and just restore the cut between them, just carefully like that. Now, don't do it when it's too hot, because if you're off at all, you'll actually kind of pull and crack either the opening itself or the clay around the opening. So just make sure that it's cold or very cool. Okay. You can also wait, and if you have a good cut, you can probably split it just by bending it like so. All right. Now the next thing we have to do is, and I'm not going to sand it at this point. I'm just going to go right ahead and I'm going to glue the binding on. Now, I like just, posts for an earring like this. If you wanted to hang it, you could hang it, but probably you would want to hang it like this. If you hang from this point, gravity's going to pull it and it's going to swing probably that way. So I would rather use posts. Now, where do we want to put the post? All right, so my choice is somewhere probably in this area. I have put it closer to, let's say, the center here, but you have to remember that if you put the post here in the corner, the earring doesn't sit next to your cheek. You have to pull the post back into this area, probably somewhere around here, in order to pull this post closer to your face. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way, it's just the way I have decided to do it. All right, so let me find this. So I am going to glue it probably right there, in that area. Let me try to find the corresponding place on the other earring. So it's going to be about there, like that. And hopefully the earring will then sit next to my jawline or next to my cheek, as opposed to being pulled out from it. Let's just glue this now. I'm using this Loctite glue. Now, this was originally in that plastic container, the one where you squeeze the sides. But what you're going to find if you use that glue is that it seems that there isn't much glue in there. You'll be squeezing and squeezing and you'll think it's empty. But the truth of the matter is there's plenty of glue left. Okay, and one of my students actually told me that there's quite a bit of glue left in the tube, even when you think it's empty. So what I have started to do is when I think the tube is empty, I take a hammer and I crack that plastic housing and I release this tube, and you can't believe how much glue is left in here. I would say there's as much glue left in as you have squeezed out, maybe more. So don't forget, don't throw it away. Crack the housing, take the glue out. All right, so let's let those sit for a moment. Now, I'm going to back it with this color. What it is just a collection, a mixture of probably black and gold and copper. Anyway, you can see that it's a metallic. What I wouldn't do is just use plain old scrap clay. I know some people do. I don't like it. So let's texture it. I've rolled this through setting number 3, which is 2. Actually, this is 5, I think. Well, yeah, this is 5. Okay, let's roll it through 6. Make the earring even lighter. So this is setting 6. And I will texture it by placing the clay here. Now, because this clay is so much thinner, I'm going to reset my machine going from 6 to 5. Because if I roll this through 6, I am afraid that this clay is going to be jammed into that sponge and I won't be able to get it out. Yeah. That doesn't happen in the thicker settings, but when the clay gets thin, it does. Okay, so here we go. To make my life a little easier, I'm just going to select, let's just make it 2 cutters up, like that. Cut a circle, cut this in half, and now I should be able to cover the back of the earring pretty simply. It's definitely easier to handle if I have less clay or less excess clay. So this is liquid clay. I'm just applying it to the back. Just push the clay right there over the post. Press it down. like so. Now, I would never just glue it to the back and say that's good enough, okay? Because I don't believe it is good enough. Just glue. I like having that extra layer of clay. And I think that that is what makes that little post the most secure. Okay, let me take my blade, just glide it along. Now, I put my finger at the bottom here. And so my blade will end right at my finger. I've never cut myself that way. But I do that because when you're cutting, the blade is actually pulling the clay, and you will end up with a lot of extra clay at the base. And if there's extra clay at the base, that means you've thinned it out somewhere. Somewhere along the line, the clay got thinner. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. I will be sanding it after it's cured. So let me put the second one on. I'll pop these in the oven and I'll be back. So my earrings are backed. Let me put my signature cane on. And I'm just going to put them face down on this tile that I've wrapped with Kleenex, actually. Could use paper towel. So in the oven we go. After that, I'll be back. So these are cured, and the one final thing we have to do is sand the edges. I want to show you the difference between the two. I sanded this one. I did not sand this one. Okay. Now, aside from the fact that this is lighter, if you really look at the edge, you can see that this is much cleaner. See how the black kind of goes out over the blend? Well, we got to take care of that. Okay. This is Auburnette P120. Just holding the earring upright and lightly sanding back and forth. And with very little effort, I'm able to even out this whole side. So continue sanding the outside. When I first started working with polymer clay, we didn't really sand that much. And so I personally did a lot more smoothing when the clay was raw. I spent a lot more time doing that. But, you know, if I can quickly sand something like this edge after it's cured, I just find it much easier and it takes a lot less time. And I think it looks good. Okay. Now, these corners are a bit sharp, so you might want to just do one of those numbers and round them off. A little more comfortable. And that is pretty much it. Now, what I can do is put a little Nivea on the sanded edge, and that'll restore the color. Okay. Let's do it. This is an ancient can of Nivea. Look how big it is. It's huge. It was a gift. Emily in England gave me this gigantic tin of Nivea. Thank you, Em. I still have it. I've had it for about 5 years now. Okay, here we go. And there we go. They're done. All right, we're at the end. I just wanted to show you, this is a pair of earrings I made in the members classroom. It was part of a more complex class where we did a pin, but it was dimensional. It wasn't flat. So I decided to do a simplified version. This and this. These are two pairs of earrings that I made yesterday that I thought I shot, and I didn't. Yeah. So this is what was made today. This pair. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. I hope you make lots of little earrings, girly swirly earrings, and that you've enjoyed yourself. If so, please subscribe and please like. I'd appreciate it very, very much. So until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato, and I am signing off. Bye.